Stories that matter. In the last 3 days, WION has been travelling across Syria. You are in Latakia city right now. Tell us, what is the situation on ground at Gravitas? We don't just tell you stories from selected countries from around the world.
2 years since the Myanmar military coup, the people of Myanmar continue to live in a nightmare.
Because it does not suit their propaganda, or because they are too scared to speak truth to power.
The stress of our world can take a toll on our physical and emotional health. Here, in New York's Catskill Mountains, lies a luxurious place of healing called UAE Wellness Center. The UAE Wellness Center.
On WION's live broadcast from the UK, the Labour Party chief has branded PM Rishi Sunak as Mr. 1%. Can Sunak change his image of being extremely rich and privileged as opposition grows? Former UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson could accept the Privileges Committee's findings that he recklessly misled Parliament in a bid to escape a by-election. And Germany to increase the number of workers from countries outside the EU by 60,000 people a year. At these times, only on WION.
Hello and welcome. You're watching WION World is One. My name is Him Korsra and here's a look at all the top stories this hour. More drama in Pakistan's Supreme Court. The bench that was hearing the matter of election dates has been dissolved after another judge rescued himself from the case. Would Donald Trump go to jail? Former president indicted by Manhattan grand jury in hush money case becomes the first ever former US president to face criminal charges. Japan's foreign minister will visit Beijing for 2 days from Saturday to discuss a range of issues, including the detention of a Japanese Estella's pharma employee. A new video of radical preacher Amritpal Singh surfaces. The preacher asserts that he is not a fugitive and that he would soon appear before the world. The death toll after a floor collapse at a Hindu temple in India rises to 35, with rescue operations underway to find one person still missing. World number 1 Carlos Alcaraz stays on course for a rare sunshine double. The Indian Wells champion eases into the semi-finals of the Miami Masters with a straight set win over 9th seed Taylor Fritz. Now it appears that Pakistan is not just divided along party lines, but the divisions are way more entrenched in the entire governance apparatus. In the latest divisions have plagued Pakistan's apex court. The 4-judge bench of Pakistan's Supreme Court has now been dissolved. The panel was hearing opposition PTI party's election dates plea. The decision was taken after one of the 4 judges on the bench recused himself from the case. Just moments after the bench resumed the hearing of PTI's petition, Justice Jamal Khan distanced himself from the bench. Earlier, one more judge from the initial 5-member judge did the same as well, but the Chief Justice continued the hearing anyway without dissolving this bench. Now that the bench stands dissolved, the Chief Justice of Pakistan says the hearing will resume only after a new bench is constituted. Former Prime Minister Imran Khan's PTI party pleaded that the ECP's decision to postpone elections in Punjab was in violation of the constitution. It requested the court to direct the Khyber Pakhtunkhwa governor to announce the date for elections to the provincial assembly. In its first March verdict, the Supreme Court ordered to hold the election to the Punjab Assembly within 90 days. However, the ECP announced October 8 as the date for elections, delaying the same for more than 183 days beyond the 90-day limit as prescribed in the Constitution of Pakistan. With financial crisis hurting the society, political differences turning violent, and now judiciary becoming dysfunctional, the Pakistani society, it continues to suffer. For more on this, our Pakistan Bureau Chief Anas Malik has sent us this report from Islamabad. Listen in.
Well, drama and division in the Pakistani Supreme Court continues on second consecutive day. The case that pertains to the PTI petition which seeks court's involvement with regards to the delay in election, that bench, the 5-member bench, was first dissolved because one of the judges in the bench, Justice Aminuddin Khan, rescued himself, citing that a day earlier, that was 2 days back, he was part of another bench that had ruled that until special benches and the suo motu powers legislation is done and they are defined, suo motu cases should not be heard. Yesterday there was no hearing, and it was announced that the same bench, that was 5-member, which would now be 4-member bench, be hearing the same case because of the technicalities that were involved. Earlier today we saw that a circular was issued by the Chief Justice of Pakistan exercising his powers, saying that he is striking down the verdict that was issued by the 3-member bench, which with 2:1. With that, Justice Jamal Mandukhil, another dissenting voice who had dissented in another case earlier this month, which involved the Supreme Court, the Chief Justice of Pakistan, Justice Jamal Mandukhil, has today now rescued himself, and well, it seems that the drama continues, and now the hearing will resume after Friday prayers. Before that, the Chief Justice said that he will be announcing or making a new bench very soon. Anas Malik in Islamabad, Pakistan, for WION World is One.
Shifting our focus now, Japan's Foreign Minister Yoshimasa Hayashi has announced that he would be going to Beijing for a 2-day visit on the 1st of April. And this will be the first such visit in over 3 years. He said that he will be meeting his Chinese counterpart Qin Gang and the Chinese State Councillor Wang Yi.
外交部長等との明4月1日から2日にかけまして、中国北京を訪問いたします。昨年11月の日中首脳会談におきまして
Now his visit would aim at building a constructive and stable relationship. He plans to discuss a range of issues, including the detention of a Japanese pharma employee in China. And Japan has been demanding his early release. He said that during his visit, he will explain Japan's position on a range of issues, including the discharge of treated radioactive wastewater from the Fukushima nuclear power plant. His talks in China would form part of the basis for the discussions in the upcoming summit of the G7, of which Japan is the chair country. Japan's foreign minister announced that he would be going to Beijing for a 2-day visit. This will be on the 1st of April. And this is the first such visit in over 3 years. As per the reports, he will be meeting his Chinese counterpart Qin Gang and the Chinese State Councillor Wang Yi as well. Now, for more on this, we're being joined by our correspondent Chris Gilbert, live from Japan. Thank you so much for joining us, Chris. Japan's FM to go on a 2-day visit to Beijing. What can you tell us of the significance of this visit?
Well, I mean, COVID has really frozen over diplomacy, especially for, countries in the area around China, such as Japan, that used to do, quite frequent visits or diplomatic visits and incredibly important ones, too, to keep the relationship healthy. But, zero COVID and closed borders really put an end to all of that for the last couple of years. And so it is a significant visit. It is the first time that these two foreign ministers are meeting in person in their respective roles. And, Minister Hayashi was invited to China, when leaders met at the end of last year. It was a planned visit, but it does seem all the more pertinent at the moment, ever since the arrest of this Japanese national who was arrested earlier in the month in China on, suspicion of espionage and spying spying. China has not been very forthcoming about any more information about this than that. But, Japan has urged China to release this national. They have asked that he be given or allowed visits by consular services and really just for more information. And China has said, well, Japan needs to do more to educate its people not to conduct such behavior inside Japan. And what we know about this person is that he is a Japanese, he works for a Japanese company, a drug firm called Astellas Pharma. He's in his 50s. He was due to return to Japan just after he was arrested, cut off his trip to Japan, which is meant to be happening this month. And really, that's about it. Not a lot is known. And so it's going to be interesting to see, with all the raft of, topics on the table, if the demand, as the Japanese media here is saying, by Japan to release this person is going to be made in person by Minister Hayashi, or if, due to the complicated and fragile nature of the relationship, he might take a more tactful line.
Right, absolutely. Of course, you mentioned this as well. These are expected to also form a basis for discussions in the upcoming G7 summit. What sort of shift in cooperation or relations can we expect, if any?
Well, Japan wants to emerge from the G7 summit as a top 10 nation. Fumio Kishida, the Prime Minister, wants to jump out of Shinzo Abe, a previous Prime Minister's shadow, a real heavyweight of world politics. So, it's going to be a significant occasion for Japan. But the relationship for these two countries is incredibly complicated because, we've just seen Xi Jinping and Vladimir Putin meet in Moscow, and how close those two leaders are, while, Kishida and Japan are quite firmly in the camp of supporting Ukraine shoulder to shoulder alongside other G7 leaders. In fact, Kishida was in Kiev at the same time that Xi Jinping and Putin were meeting in Moscow. So that might drive a wedge as Japan looks to really align itself along with G7 countries in a security sense. However, they're incredibly important business partners. We know this, that there are $230 billion of trade between Japan and China a year or so ago. The United States is looking to help Japan, I guess you could say, wean itself off its trade reliance on Japan by diversifying its supply lines and looking for other imports of minerals. But at the moment, the tourism sector here is looking to recover, and Chinese tourists are only 4% of what they were, in 2019 before the pandemic. And so they're looking to recover that as well, some 30% of $38 billion in Chinese tourism they want. So there are many, many aspects to this relationship which could both drive them apart and, pull them together. There are a lot of interests at stake, and so it's going to be a real tightrope for Minister Hayashi to walk this weekend.
Well, Chris, thank you so much for bringing us the latest on this. We will, of course, continue to track the developments closely here. Moving on now, the President of the United Arab Emirates and the ruler of Abu Dhabi, Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan, has appointed his eldest son, Khalid, as the Crown Prince of Abu Dhabi. This was announced by the state-run WAM news agency on Wednesday. He has further elevated his brothers to top positions in a consolidation of power that broke from the tradition of passing leadership succession to another brother. While he named his brother Sheikh Mansour as the UAE Vice President, the other two brothers, Sheikh Hazza, who is also the youngest of the brothers, and Sheikh Tahnoon, have been appointed as deputy rulers of Abu Dhabi. 41-year-old Sheikh Khalid is the eldest son of Sheikh Mohammed. And Khalid has served as a member of the Abu Dhabi Executive Council and sits on the board of state oil giant ADNOC. And the president's 52-year-old brother Sheikh Mansour is well known as Manchester City's owner and is also the chairman of the Abu Dhabi Fund for Development. 54-year-old Sheikh Tahnoon is the UAE's national security advisor and was earlier named the chair of the $790 billion Abu Dhabi Investment Authority. Moving on now, Donald Trump has been indicted by the Manhattan grand jury in the porn star Stormy Daniels' hush money payment case. He becomes the first former U.S. president in history to face criminal charges. The historic indictment is likely to shake up the 2024 presidential race. The specific charges not yet known. The indictment will likely be unsealed by a judge in the coming days, and these charges come after a year-long investigation into a payment made by Trump's personal lawyer to porn star Stormy Daniels ahead of the 2016 presidential election. Trump, however, denies all wrongdoing in connection with the payments. Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg's office has said that it has contacted Trump's lawyers to coordinate his surrender for arraignment in New York. Reports quote Trump's lawyers stating that Trump is expected to be arraigned on Tuesday, surrendering for arraignment that would usually involve being fingerprinted and photographed and potentially also handcuffed. Donald Trump, who is making another run for the White House, has slammed this indictment. He's called it a political persecution and election interference at the highest level in history. His party supporters, they were quick to react on his indictment in the Republican camp. Trump's allies, they stormed Twitter denouncing the indictment in what they see as a vendetta aimed at derailing his 2024 campaign. Kevin McCarthy, the top Republican in the House of Representatives, said that the indictment had irreparably damaged the country. Calling out Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg, McCarthy wrote, and I'm quoting here, "The American people will not tolerate this injustice, and the House of Representatives will hold Alvin Bragg and his unprecedented abuse of power to account." Trump's expected challenger for the party nomination, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, slammed the indictment as un-American. DeSantis has not yet officially declared his 2024 run. However, opinion polls suggest that many Republican voters are looking for an alternative to Donald Trump. Meanwhile, Stormy Daniels took to Twitter to thank her supporters. Daniels has maintained that she received the money in exchange for keeping silent about a sexual encounter she had with Trump in 2006. The lawyer for the porn star, Clark Brewster, also tweeted that the indictment of Donald Trump shows that no one is above the law. He stated, and I'm quoting again, "The hard work and conscientiousness of the grand jurors must be respected. Now let truth and justice prevail." Although this indictment creates a big hurdle, Trump can still run for president even if he is convicted of the charges he's facing, given he is able to win Republican vote for the same. Trump will now be put on trial when he will enter a plea, and various dates for case proceedings will be set as well. Moving on now, the radical Sikh preacher Amritpal Singh has released a new video. Singh says that he is not a fugitive and the pro-Khalistani preacher will soon appear before the world. The separatist Sikh preacher has been on the run for at least the past 13 days after Punjab police launched a crackdown against members of his unit. The new footage appears a day after he dared the state police of Punjab to arrest him in a video message. Earlier, the chief of the pro-Khalistan group urged Akal Takht to convene Sarbat Khalsa, which is a gathering of Sikhs in the Indian town of Talwandi Sabo on the 14th of April. The date also marks the celebration of Sikh festival of Baisakhi. Singh also called for a very tough stance on the current situation and appealed Sikhs to attend the event in great numbers to discuss the number of issues that the community is facing. According to reports here, Amritpal Singh's video was circulated through 3 IP addresses from Canada, the United Kingdom and Dubai, and that the video was actually recorded in the Indian state of Uttar Pradesh. Punjab police say that it has already started the process of removing this video from several social media handles and websites. Now, before this particular video, CCTV footage emerged from India's capital, New Delhi, where allegedly Amritpal Singh was seen with one of his aides in disguise on the 21st of March. Meanwhile, there's also heavy police presence in India's Amritsar. The hunt for Amritpal Singh forced the state authorities to cut off mobile internet, arresting more than 100 of his followers and banning gatherings of more than 4 people in places. It's alleged that Amritpal Singh has been maintaining links with Pakistan's ISI, and as per sources, he came in contact with the agents while working in Dubai. Sources say he radicalized youngers at the behest of the ISI to destabilize the situation in Punjab. He has also been accused of issuing threats to India's Home Minister, Amit Shah. And world number one Carlos Alcaraz is just 2 wins away from completing the Sunshine Double and staying on top of the pile in men's tennis. The defending champion dispatched home favourite American Taylor Fritz in the quarterfinals of the Miami Masters without breaking a sweat. The match was originally scheduled for Wednesday but was postponed due to rain. Both the players entered the last 8 clash without dropping a single set, but 9th-seed Fritz had no answer to Alcaraz's all-round play. The defending champion set the tone by breaking Fritz in the very first game. The American did manage to get 2 break opportunities but failed to convert them as Alcaraz used stellar net play to clinch the opener. Alcaraz once again broke Fritz to love in the second set and pulled ahead for a 3-1 lead. The American started to unravel as Alcaraz rattled off the final 3 games to wrap up the match in 1 hour and 18 minutes. Both men finished with 20 winners, but Alcaraz kept his unforced error count down to 13 while Fritz committed 28. He will now face 10th-seed Yannick Sinner for a place in the Summit Clash.
Game, set a match. Alcaraz, 2 sets to love, 6-4.
I think that the return was the key of this match. I took my chances. You know, I think I took the opportunity of every break point that I had. You know, and I think it was the key. You know, playing from the best lines. I think I felt really good. You know,
Now, if Alcaraz lifts the title in Miami, he would become the only 8th man to complete the Sunshine Double, which is the feat of winning the Indian Wells and Miami Open in the same year. 4-time Grand Slam champion American Jim Courier was the first man to clinch the Sunshine Double in 1991. Fellow American Michael Chang won it in the next year. Pete Sampras and Marcelo Rios achieved it in 1994 and 1998 respectively. Andre Agassi emulated his compatriot and arch-rival Sampras in 2001, and then 20-time Grand Slam champion Roger Federer won it 3 times. The only active player in the list, Novak Djokovic, has won the Sunshine Double a record 4 times. And after thunder snow last week, Canada was once again hit with an unusual spring snow. We leave you with this report. Thank you so much for watching. WION World is One.
On WION's live broadcast from the UK, the Labour Party chief has branded PM Rishi Sunak as Mr. 1%. Can Sunak change his image of being extremely rich and privileged as opposition grows? Former UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson could accept the Privileges Committee's findings that he recklessly misled Parliament in a bid to escape a by-election. And Germany to increase the number of workers from countries outside the EU by 60,000 people a year. At these times, only on WION. On WION's climate tracker today, scientists warn deep ocean water flows from the Antarctic could decline by at least 40% by 2050. French President Emmanuel Macron launches broad plans to ensure sovereignty over its water resources. and Philippine fishermen struggle as oil spill keeps them ashore. At these times, only on WION.
WION, now available on.
Gravitas tells you stories which others won't. And tonight we will tell you about this new strategic map that is being drawn.
They say your enemy's enemy is your friend. Is that the foundation of the new defense bridge between India and America?
This is what separates us from others who claim to be telling you global stories that matter. In the last 3 days, WION has been traveling across Syria. You are in Latakia city right now. Tell us, what is the situation on ground? At Gravitas, we don't just tell you stories from selected countries from around the world.
2 years since the Myanmar military coup, the people of Myanmar continue to live in a nightmare.
Because it does not suit their propaganda